In 1618, a comet appeared in the sky, so bright that it could even be seen during the day. Its fiery tail was like a whip, which God used to punish people. This is the year that saw the start of the 30 Years' War. It was the bloodiest war the world had ever seen, and the first modern war in history. It claimed the lives of 1/3 of Germany's population. It started with Catholics and Protestants fighting each other over the true faith. In the end, nations were fighting for power. The 30 Years' War shattered the old world. It created a new Europe. We can still experience its immediacy today through the reports of soldiers and generals, bishops and peasants, rulers and whores. This war left the letters of an eerie monk, a man in the shadow of the powerful, and the first known diary of a simple soldier for hire who miraculously survived. It made a princess into a queen, and after only one winter, it plunged her into the abyss. It turned a poor orphan into the richest woman in Europe, and a respectable hostess into an alleged witch. This war turned the most famous painter of his time into a spy.
Ik zou willen dat de hele wereld in vrede leefde, zodat we een gouden tijdperk zouden kennen in plaats van een ijzeren tijdperk.
In 1630, the Catholic Emperor Ferdinand II rules the Holy Roman Empire in Central Europe. For more than 10 years, a devastating war has raged there. The Emperor has crushed a rebellion in Protestant Bohemia, as well as an invasion of the Kingdom of Denmark. At the same time, French King Louis XIII has defeated the Protestants in the south of his country. The time seems ripe to restore the Catholic faith throughout Europe with maximum force. The flourishing trading town of Kalbe lies in central Germany, near Magdeburg, and has so far avoided being involved in the war. In 1630, the Protestant town is targeted by Catholic troops.
The Catholic commander, Wehrmont, invaded the city with his troops, and they raged through it, killing, robbing, pillaging, plundering, destroying large parts of the city and killing many people. It is said that here in the church, blood spatters could be seen on the floor for years afterwards, decades even. They were deliberately preserved in order to remind people of what a terrible time it was, and how this place, which should have been a place of protection and refuge, became a place where people died, where families were torn apart, where people lost everything they had held dear.
Peaceful Kalba falls victim to imperial troops because it is a Lutheran town. The city never recovers from the massacre. Eight-year-old Anna Margareta von Hauggwitz escapes the massacre, the only member of her family to survive.
This is the baptismal font where Anna was christened in 1622. She was born to a noble family from Kalba. At the time, hers was a relatively wealthy noble family. She was one of 6 children. Under normal circumstances, being born into this family would have given her a pleasant, prosperous life, but that didn't happen.
Meiner armen Mutter und all meinen Geschwistern konnten die katholischen Teufel nichts mehr antun. Ihre Leiber hatten sie abgeschlachtet. Aber ihre Seelen waren im Himmel. Ich war auf der Erde zurückgeblieben. Ich hatte niemanden mehr. Wohin hätte ich fliehen sollen?
There is hardly anywhere that offers women and children any real protection from the horrors of war. Looting is specifically allowed at the time. Violence against civilians is considered dishonorable, but still happens regularly. Many women turn to the soldiers themselves for protection.
During the 30 Years' War, wives and children of mercenaries and soldiers often joined them and travelled with the army, marching and camping together. There were also baggage carriers, so the number of people far exceeded the number of actual soldiers. Sometimes twice as many, or even more than twice as many as originally planned.
The diary of soldier for hire Pieter Hagendorf is a unique testimony to the life of ordinary soldiers in the 30 Years' War. Hagendorf comes from the area of Magdeburg. Although himself a Protestant, he serves in the Catholic Imperial Army. He does not describe heroic struggles, but hardship and suffering. His wife, Anna Stadler, accompanies him from campaign to campaign.
The women and children had to do the same marches that the soldiers did, which put them under enormous stress. The women often had miscarriages.
Monatelang hat meine geliebte Frau Anna unser Kind unter ihrem Herzen getragen, ohne sich etwas anmerken zu lassen. Allen Märschen und Beschießungen, aller Kälte und Hitze, allen Hungers und Gestankes zum Trotz. Leutnant gibt einen guten Gevatter ab. Oder der Fälscher? Oder doch die Frau des Scharfrichters? Was meinst du?
Ich bin nur froh, dass es überstanden ist.
Du siehst nicht froh aus.
Wie soll das Kind überleben?
Es gibt in diesen Zeiten keinen besseren Platz als das Lager einer Armee. Nicht mal Kirchen sind sicher.
Auch für ein Mädchen. Du hast dir gewiss einen Jungen gewünscht.
Die können doch nur Soldaten werden und töten. Oder getötet werden. Mädchen dagegen.
Ja? Was können die denn? Deiner Meinung nach, das würde ich schon gern mal wissen.
Heiraten? Sie können auch ins Kloster gehen.
Himmlischer Vater, ich gebe mich mit Leib und Seele in deine Hände. Dein heiliger Engel sei mit mir, dass der böse Feind keine Macht an mir finde.
Du betest nicht auf die richtige Weise, mein Kind. Lass es mich dir zeigen.
Ich bin Ihnen sehr dankbar, ehrwürdige Mutter. Sie haben mir das Leben gerettet. Es waren die Katholiken, die meine Familie umgebracht haben.
Es waren nicht Katholiken, es waren Soldaten.
Ich werde nie so beten wie Sie.
Die Zeit wird deine Wunden heilen. Nie wieder wird ein armes Mädchen wie du solche Schmerzen erleiden müssen. Es heißt, dass der Kaiser in Regensburg Frieden schließt. Der Krieg hat bald ein Ende.
The Kurfürstentag in Regensburg in southern Germany is the most important decision-making body in the Holy Roman Empire. This is where, in 1630, Emperor Ferdinand II wants to arrange his succession and conclude a peace favourable to him. For this, he needs to show an agreement with foreign powers.
En 1630, l'empereur
In 1630, the emperor decided to remain in the 30 Years' War. He wanted to form a parliament from the German princes, the electors, in Regensburg. Ambassadors from all over the world were also included. It was a form of congress, which was similar to modern 20th century congresses.
Donc il y a bien l'idée d'une réorganisation.
France sent two diplomats, Brûlard de Léon and, in his shadow, Father Joseph.
Father Joseph is one of the most influential politicians in France. As a diplomat in Regensburg, his morality has to bow to tactical needs. But while the other delegates sleep in palaces, Father Joseph sleeps in a convent on the bare floor. The monk belongs to the order of the Capuchins, is bound by a strict vow of poverty, and abhors earthly splendor. The conflict between these two sides of his personality defines Father Joseph's sojourn in Regensburg.
Et secundum multitudinem miserationum tuam, delle iniquae mea. Amplius, lava mea iniquitate mea, et a peccato meo, mondame. Nous sommes le plus éloignés de Dieu. Y a-t-il un lieu plus éloigné de Dieu que celui où les empereurs, les rois et les princes se battent?
Cardinal Richelieu and his king Louis XIII have united France, and it is more powerful than ever before. Victory over the Protestant Huguenots was just the beginning. Now the Catholic wants to play to his strengths. The question is, against whom?
Pour un bon catholique, For virtually all Catholics at that time, Protestantism is an epidemic. It was said that people became infected with Protestantism. A city, for example, could be infested with Protestantism. Joseph of Paris shares the feelings and attitudes of his contemporaries.
Ferdinand II sees it in a similar light. In 1629, the emperor issues what is called a restitution edict against all Protestants. Germany is to become fully Catholic again, by force if necessary. In Regensburg, the plan is met with resistance.
In the summer of 1630, the Imperial Commander General Wallenstein is in charge of the greatest army in the history of Europe. The German princes no longer wish to bear the enormous costs involved, which is in the region of 100,000 soldiers. Their plan is to attempt to force the Kaiser to promise to dismiss these troops. Despite the fact that a month previously, the Swedes had landed on the Baltic island of Usedom, and despite the fact that Sweden is generally considered to be a stronger military might than Denmark, the princes ignore the threat of a Swedish invasion. At around the same time, German, Spanish and French troops are engaging in combat in northern Italy for dominance of the region. The French delegation takes special interest in this conflict.
The emperor wants to conclude a peace treaty with France, which would strengthen his power in Germany. That, however, is exactly what France wants to prevent.
This meeting between the emperor and the German princes could have resulted in a Germany before the Germany we know was formed. France supported the German princes, both Catholic and Protestant, against the emperor in the name of freedom for Germany. Germany had to be free. It could not be held by a single monarch. Of course, this was important to France because a divided Germany was much weaker. These were Father Joseph's two missions.
Votre Éminence, les princes allemands, y compris les catholiques, exercent de fortes pressions sur l'empereur afin qu'il renvoie Wallenstein, son meilleur commandant. Je l'encourage à le faire. Après la défaite apparente des ennemis extérieurs, ils craignent que l'empereur n'envoie ses troupes à l'intérieur du royaume pour les combattre et ainsi s'arroger un pouvoir absolu. Nous avons affirmé à l'empereur qu'il n'a rien à craindre de l'invasion suédoise et que nous ne la soutiendrons en aucun cas.
But France's position is by no means unanimous. Maria de' Medici, mother of the king, wants to form an alliance with the Habsburg emperor in order to drive Protestantism out of Europe. Anna of Austria, his wife, is herself a Habsburg. Both women face Richelieu's cool political power.
Father Joseph himself received no instructions for quite some time. He did not know what to do. He had a draft agreement, and finally he agreed to sign the peace treaty between the King of France and the Emperor.
Sans le redoutable Wallenstein, la maison de Habsbourg est désormais affaiblie comme vous le souhaitiez, Votre Éminence. Ainsi, nous avons fait la paix avec le Kaiser à des conditions très avantageuses pour nous. Le projet de contrat est en route dans un courrier séparé, envoyé au Conseil d'État. Le projet de contrat est en route dans un courrier séparé, envoyé au secrétaire d'État aux Affaires étrangères, qui entamera le processus de ratification.
The royal castles around Paris are the secret centres of power in French politics. It is here, in November 1630, that the power struggle between the Habsburg-friendly faction and Cardinal Richelieu comes to a head. A compromise does not seem possible anymore. It is up to the king alone to make a decision. Back from Regensburg, Father Joseph has no idea how the power struggle ends.
Je ne savais pas ce qui m'attendait, tandis que je me rendais une fois de plus chez le cardinal, après avoir passé plusieurs mois en Allemagne. Allait-il me renvoyer, voire m'arrêter? Ou à l'inverse, se pouvait-il qu'il ne soit plus aussi puissant qu'avant? Des rumeurs au sujet d'un complot le visant à la cour m'étaient parvenues lors de mon voyage de retour. Dans ce cas, j'allais être arrêté, en raison de mon allégeance au cardinal de Richelieu.
De quel côté êtes-vous?
Du côté du roi.
Vous pourrez donc certainement répondre à cette question. Le roi souhaite-t-il s'allier à l'empereur ou rejette-t-il cette idée?
Il la rejette.
Dans ce cas, vous avez agi contre sa volonté à Ratisbonne.
Je n'étais pas suffisamment informé.
J'aurais donc fait une erreur en ne vous expliquant pas les intentions du roi?
C'est entièrement de ma faute. Compte tenu de mon expérience en matière de diplomatie, j'aurais dû agir différemment à Ratisbonne.
Vous avez fait une grande faveur à mes ennemis.
Vos ennemis sont mes ennemis.
Et si je vous disais que je n'appartiens plus au Conseil du roi? Vous n'avez en face de vous qu'un simple citoyen.
Si vous tombez, je tomberai avec vous. Je vous suivrai, même jusqu'en enfer.
Bien.
After dramatic arguments at the royal court, Richelieu prevails against the king's mother. She is driven into exile. Richelieu proceeds to consolidate his power.
C'est le contrat que vous avez conclu à Ratisbonne. Peut-être que votre action imprudente nous offrira finalement un grand avantage. Vous avez parfaitement dupé l'empereur avec votre fervent amour de la paix.
La reine-mère est d'accord?
Ses jours à la cour sont comptés.
Le combat en Italie va donc reprendre?
Il n'a jamais cessé. Notre offensive progresse avec succès car l'empereur pense être à l'abri.
Il est donc grand temps de rédiger un nouveau contrat.
Nous nous comprenons à présent.
The National Archives in Paris contains a treaty between France and Sweden. In January 1631, this treaty changes the nature of the war forever. Swedish troops have been operating in northern Germany for months, up to now unsuccessfully and without important allies.
The help that France promises to Sweden, contained in the Treaty of Barvelde in 1631, is a critical moment in the 30 Years' War. This treaty provides Sweden with 30,000 soldiers and 6,000 cavalry, some of which are paid for by France to the tune of £1 million. This means that France is not actually intervening militarily, but is providing money. It is using the Swedish army as a political and military tool to divert the imperial forces.
Without the treaty, Sweden would have no chance against the emperor in the long run. Now, the thinly populated country can recruit foreign mercenaries and play to its strengths. A modern, well-organized army under the direct leadership of the King of Sweden. Gustav Adolf will prove to be a military genius.
This tactical decision heralds not only the birth of a new power, but also the discovery of a general who is an outstanding strategist, and the introduction of Sweden on the European stage as a player on the continental gaming table.
Around 15,000 Swedish soldiers, led by their king Gustav Adolf, land in Pomerania and in Mecklenburg. In his war propaganda, the King of Sweden claims that he has come to protect the German Protestant princes and to come to the aid of the Protestants in their struggle against the Catholics. Nevertheless, most of the Protestant territories wish to stay neutral. They fear the emperor and suspect Gustav Adolf of wanting to turn the Baltic Sea into no more than a Swedish lake. However, one of the largest and most important German cities supports Sweden, Magdeburg. The new commander of the Catholic armies is the Count of Tilly. He plans a punitive action against Magdeburg. Furthermore, attacking Magdeburg will force the Swedish to help the city. Sweden will be lured into a trap.
So Tilly marches his entire army up to the gates of Magdeburg. He does not have much time to conquer the city, as Gustav Adolf is approaching from the north with his Swedish army.
In Magdeburg, da leben sie im Überfluss. Die Reichen fühlen sich sicher hinter ihren Mauern. Sie müssen uns was abgeben. Wir hungern hier schon viel zu lange. Sag doch was.
Ich bin dort aufgewachsen. Nur ein paar Meilen entfernt. Und jetzt soll ich die Stadt erobern und töten? Das sind meine Landsleute. Es ist wie ein Kampf gegen mich selbst.
Peter, schau mich an. Schau dein Kind an. Wir sind deine Familie. Nicht die da.
Proud Magdeburg, with its 30,000 inhabitants, is one of the largest cities in the Holy Roman Empire. The city converted to Lutheranism very early and is considered the most important Protestant bastion in Germany.
Magdeburg war eine wohlhabende Stadt und andererseits
Magdeburg was a prosperous city. It also had a special symbolism because it was this rebellious city, a stalwart city, which pulsed with its own confidence and stood up to the emperor. As was said in verses of the time, it refused to dance with the emperor. It stood its ground.
Geht es Anna Maria?
Seit 2 Tagen isst sie fast nichts.
Seit über 10 Jahren war ich ein Teil dieses Krieges. Noch nie hatte ich eine so heruntergekommene Armee erlebt. Wir hatten seit Monaten kein Sold mehr gesehen. Und unsere Vorräte an Nahrung waren aufgebraucht.
Gibt ihr mir was von der Suppe?
Nein.
Für das Brot? Nein. Für mein Baby? Nein. Es ist nur für das Baby. Es ist nur für das Baby.
They'd been waiting for this moment for months, and suddenly it was time. The attack was happening, and all at once, they were in an extremely dangerous situation, where they might have to die in order to conquer this hostile city.
Jetzt lass ich schon. Das Signal ist gegeben. Sie warten nicht auf dich. Peter, du kämpfst nicht nur, weil Tilly es befiehlt. Du kämpfst für deine Familie, die hungert. Peter!
Lieber Gott, hilf Magdeburg gegen die Soldaten des Kaisers.
Hast du Familie in Magdeburg?
Die letzten, die es noch gibt. Sie müssen erfahren, dass ich am Leben bin. Meine Eltern haben ihnen das ganze Geld gegeben, weil es in Magdeburg am sichersten ist. Es sollte für mich sein und meine Geschwister.
Magdeburg ist eine starke Stadt.
German orphan Anna Margarete von Hauggwitz records her experiences for posterity. The transcript can be found in the former private library of Count Wrangel in Skokloster Castle in Sweden.
In this autobiography, you can read about her childhood, how she lost absolutely everything. Her mother and father died, as did her 3 siblings. And it gives an unprecedented insight into her thoughts on the 30 Years' War. So, for example, if we translate a section into Swedish, she describes the war as a miserable time, when we, like everyone else in Germany, suffered from the cruel war and were deprived of everything. And here you can also read about Magdeburg.
Magdeburg is relying on its strong walls and the help of the Swedish. But the Swedish still don't feel ready for open battle with the imperial army and take their time getting there. Tilly and his most experienced troops are attacking the city.
Hagendorf is involved in the storming of Magdeburg, right at the front where the action is. Imperial troops are tearing into the city, but the citizens do not give up without a fight, even though resistance has become pointless.
This resistance actually enrages the soldiers, because they didn't expect it.
Dieses ist geschehen am 20. Mai im Jahr 1631 frühmorgens um 9 Uhr.
As the fighting continues and more soldiers enter the city, the first few houses start to burn. At the end, the whole city is in flames. What begins as a battle for conquest and loot turns into a massacre. Not even women and children are spared. Thousands flee to the city's cathedral to escape the fires. Whether the house of God can save them from the angry soldiers is still uncertain. For 3 days, people hide there, without food or water. For the Magdeburg historian Stephanie Fabian, the massacre in her hometown is more than merely a subject for research.
Wenn ich dann im Dom bin,
when I am in the cathedral, I can't help but think of the people who must have sat here, not knowing what the day would bring for them, not knowing what was happening outside. They must have been in terrible fear, begging God to help them, to save them somehow. I honestly have to say that this always affects me.
Dinge sind, die mich immer berühren.
The surrounding city has been almost completely destroyed when the wait in the cathedral comes to an end. General Tilly personally orders the survivors to be spared.
Gott meint es gut mit dir. Er hat dich leben lassen. Du musst dich jetzt ausruhen. Ich bin jetzt für dich da.
Du musst in die Stadt gehen und unser Teil der Beute holen, sonst war alles umsonst.
Wenn du stirbst, für alles umsonst.
Ich komm schon durch.
Das Kind ist auch krank.
Los, los, geh schon. So, geh jetzt. Geh.
So Peter Haggendorf is lying in the camp, heavily wounded, and must have been afraid that he was going to die. What's almost as bad, he's afraid of losing his loot, his booty, because at the time, loot not only meant extra profit. Because soldiers were not paid regularly, a rich city like Magdeburg would have provided a chance for Haggendorf to ensure a decent future for himself and his family.
Man kann einfach den Soldaten und seine...
You see the soldiers and their wives as a community of survivors, if you will, because both parties had to rely on each other in the struggle for survival in this war. So, a soldier and his wife became a kind of survival couple, a loot couple, as it was whimsically called.
Überlebenspaar, ein Beutepaar, wie es so schön auch heißt.
Lass mich mal sehen. Wie sieht's aus? Hoffnungsloser Fall. Tut mir leid. Da sind andere, die sind leichter verletzt, denen kann ich noch helfen.
Nein, warte.
Gibt es jetzt Hoffnung?
There weren't really any paramedics or army doctors in the 30 Years' War. Officers may have had their own doctors, but the ordinary soldiers had to take care of themselves.
The only person available to treat soldiers is a field surgeon, who has hardly any real medical knowledge. Their brutal treatment methods are often even more dangerous than the injury itself.
als dann die Kunde in das Lager kam,
then the word spread through the camp that houses were falling on top of each other in the burning city. It was rumored that a great many soldiers and women who had gone in there to commit adultery were dead, and he is feeling sorry about the possible fate of his wife, rather than his own.
Schicksal seiner Frau mehr als sein eigenes.
Der Fälscher hielt meine Rettung für ein Wunder und wollte wissen, was mich so stark gemacht hatte. Ich hatte keine Antwort. Vielleicht, weil meine Frau und meine Tochter mich brauchten, um zu überleben. Dann verstand ich. Gott hatte mich am Leben gelassen, um mir meine Sünden aufzuzeigen und mich mit all seiner Härte zu strafen.
Peter, sieh, was ich bekommen habe. Reines Silber. Und aus dem Leinen mache ich bessere Verbände für dich. Und das ist für Anna Maria.
In dieser elenden Zeit waren wir durch den grausamen Krieg all des Unsrigen beraubt worden. Das betraf alles, was wir noch auf unserem Gut hatten, ebenso wie das, was die seligen Eltern in der Festung in Magdeburg in Sicherheit gebracht hatten. Dieses war ein hartes Schicksal, das mir Gott, der Herr, auferlegte. Denn ich war in einen elenden, erbärmlichen Zustand geraten und von all meinen Liebsten verlassen.
Warum lässt du so viele Verbrechen geschehen? Warum hast du den Teufel auf die Welt losgelassen? Ich werde nicht mehr beten, ohne eine Antwort von dir.
Man spricht so ungefähr von 20.000 Toten in Magdeburg.
It's estimated that this fire killed about 20,000 people. So you can actually refer to this destruction as being a kind of break in the city's biography. It never recovered or returned to its old size. That's a fact. There was a census in 1632, I think, where only 449 people were counted.
Von 1632, denke ich, wo noch 449 Menschen aufgezählt waren.
Jetzt habe ich nichts mehr in dieser Welt.
Anna, wir sind für dich da. Ein lutherisches Buch?
Die Bibel.
Das ist nicht das Wort Gottes. Die Heilige Schrift ist in Latein abgefasst.
Die Nonnen sagen, dass die Mutter von Jesus eine Jungfrau ist und unschuldig. Aber keiner ist unschuldig. Niemand.
Zürne nicht. Trauere und bete, aber zürne nicht.
Weshalb sollte ich?
Weil Gott deine Gebete erhören wird und dich tröstet.
Auch ein lutherisches Gebet. Warum lässt Gott es zu, dass Christen andere Christen töten?
Gott antwortet nicht, wenn man ihn anklagt.
The massacre at Magdeburg is becoming notorious throughout Europe. Even in Catholic countries, outrage at the horrors visited upon the Protestants is growing. Hundreds of leaflets spread the news of what is being called the Bloody Wedding of Magdeburg.
Le siège de Magdebourg et le pillage de Magdebourg par
the siege and subsequent plundering of Magdeburg by Catholic troops was a key moment as it showed the ferocity of the Catholics.
La sauvagerie catholique. Dans l'opinion publique,
for example, Protestants were generally thought to be dangerous in France, but suddenly it was discovered that the Catholic army in Germany were just as violent.
Des grandes violences commises par les forces catholiques en Allemagne.
La tragédie de Magdebourg devait servir notre noble cause. Nous l'avons utilisée pour notre tâche divine et pour justifier la nouvelle politique du roi. Il nous fallait toucher les cœurs et convaincre les consciences que les armées de l'empereur étaient l'incarnation du mal. Affaiblir l'empire germanique, souffler sur les braises du chaos, diviser. Le Christ est mort sur la croix et sa souffrance a propagé la foi.
C'est parfait. Je vous avais dit que Magdebourg allait nous aider. Désormais, les Habsbourg ne sont plus des catholiques. Ce sont des monstres. Nos partisans vont finalement comprendre pourquoi nous soutenons l'invasion suédoise et voir la bassesse de l'Empire germanique et la grandeur de la France.
Ils pensent surtout que l'empereur a gagné la guerre. Ils ne comprennent pas pourquoi nous sommes du côté des perdants.
Je me demande parfois qui sont nos pires ennemis. Les armées de l'empereur ou les croyants de Paris. Mais grâce à vous, ils comprendront. Les protestants sont comme du venin en grande quantité, ils vous tuent, mais une petite quantité peut vous guérir. C'est excellent, vraiment excellent. Faites circuler la gazette. Dites à vos nonnes et à vos capucins de faire passer le message, expliquez, et vous verrez qu'ils comprendront bientôt.
C'est l'heure de ma prière.
Dieu est déjà de notre côté. Il nous reste à présent à convaincre les gens.
The French Gazette is one of the first publications to report the massacre of Magdeburg. It is the beginning of the media age. Printers in many European countries are discovering a growing market for fast-moving news. The author's intentions do not stop at producing neutral information.
Et c'est le moment où apparaissent les
This is the moment when the first magazines appear. Father Joseph, for example, soon writes the Mercure texts. You could say that he is in a position to provide good, truthful, credible, plausible information and also espouses ideas that are favourable to the decisions of the French government, all of which is clearly propaganda.
Que vous arrive-t-il?
Rien, c'était rien. Je suis resté jusque tard dans la nuit à écrire.
Père, vous êtes trop dur avec vous-même. Les pénitents sont en train de vous ruiner la santé.
Je ne m'inquiète pas pour mon corps. Seul mon esprit compte. Oh.
Je ne peux pas me passer de votre esprit. Mais je n'en ai pas seulement besoin en ce moment. Notre époque vit de grands bouleversements. Je ne pourrais pas venir à bout de toutes mes missions. Il me faut un successeur. Un successeur non seulement digne, mais également à même de me survivre.
Richelieu and Father Joseph's strategy pays off when it comes to propaganda. Most importantly, however, France's financial support of Sweden's army is bearing fruit.
For Emperor Ferdinand II, Magdeburg becomes a very problematic victory. The result of the fall of the city and the total devastation meant that the Protestants now stand together against the imperial troops and give up their neutrality. On 7th of September 1631, the Swedish army crushes Ferdinand II's troops at Breitenfeld. Mobility and firepower overcomes the number of pikes. Nobody expects such a victory. As a consequence, Sweden quickly becomes a great European power. The Battle of Breitenfeld is one of the major turning points of the war, the beginning of a triumphal march of the Swedish armies in Germany. Tilly has to withdraw to the south to defend the city of Munich, but sadly the Catholic general dies on 30th of April 1632, a few days after his defeat at the Battle of the River Lech. The King of Sweden, Gustav Adolf, plans to deal a death blow to the Emperor and sends his armies to Vienna. In his darkest hour, the Emperor calls on dismissed warlord Wallenstein to come to his rescue. Wallenstein returns more powerful than ever. The war is on a knife edge.